हरि ओम। ओम श्री गणेशाय नमः। ओम श्री हिरण्यगर्भाय नमः। ओम श्री महाविष्णवे नमः। ओम श्री महादेवाय नमः। ओम श्री महादुर्गाय नमः। ओम श्री राम रामाय नमः। ओम श्री सद्गुरवे नमः। ओम समस्त जन कल्याणी निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् शंकरं शंकराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करं सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। शङ्करं परमानन्दं ब्रह्मनिष्ठं यतीश्वरं भाष्यभ्रान्तिहरं वन्दे शुद्धज्ञानैकबोधकम्। ॐ नमः शिवाय। 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 नमः पार्वती पतये। हर हर महादेव। हरि ओम हरि ओम। We'll begin with the Shanti mantra. ॐ आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक् प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्त्वनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरतेयोपनिषत्सु धर्माः ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरि ओम। We are summarizing the 7th chapter, which we have seen in detail. So the chapter begins with a story of Naradji approaching his brother and requesting him to teach him self-knowledge. The self, though we experience it along with our body, our mind, But the real nature, the swarupa of the self is very subtle and is not known to us. Therefore, we identify with this body, mind, and interact with this world and experience different joys and sorrows. So, in order to become free of this samsara, we have to recognize our own self, the swarupa of ourself. The teacher reveals this self knowledge starting from the gross physical world and taking this subtler and inner journey all the way to that bhuma. So we experience this world through our senses, and all that we experience are the various forms. The various forms are experienced when we say world, which is made up of the five great elements which have undergone various processes of modifications, like Panchikaranam, Trivritkaranam. They alone express as this vast cosmos with various characteristics and activities. So the entire world is nothing but a form, and it has a name. The form is seen outside, but the name is something subtler. It is felt within. It is experienced by us. If we see a pot, however much we look at the pot, the name is not there in the pot. The name is understood by us in our mind. When somebody tells me that this is a pot, it is understood by me. So name is subtler than the form, but subtler than the name is the speech. And inner to the speech is the mind. And subtler than the mind is the sankalpa. And subtler than sankalpa is chitta. See, the word chitta is different from the word chit. Chit means that consciousness. Chitta is a part of this antakarana only. With the ability to comprehend the situation as presented in front of us. Subtler than chitta is dhyana. Because when we have this ability to focus, to pay attention, then we will be able to understand the situation. So dhyan is greater than chitta. But greater than dhyana is vijnanam. Vijnanam vava dhyanat bhuyaha. Vijnan is understanding, knowledge, experiential knowledge. When we listen to the teacher, when we study the scriptures, when we study this world, we gain the knowledge. It's vijnana. So vijnana is subtler than dhyana, because dhyana is possible only when we have proper vijnana. Otherwise, our dhyan will not be proper. With proper understanding, we can do dhyana. Therefore, in Gita also Bhagavan says that Shreyo jnanam abhyasat Jnanat dhyanam vishishyate. So abhyas is good, but better than abhyas is to gain proper knowledge. And with that knowledge, then we should meditate and realize that Supreme. So Vijnana is greater. Through Vijnana only everything is understood and known. The Vedas, the Puranas, the five elements, even the various life forms we come to understand. That understanding is Vijnana. So the teacher tells Naradji, you meditate on Vijnana itself as Brahma. So, and one who meditates on Vijnana as Brahma attains free movement within the domain of Vijnana. Naradji asks whether there is anything subtler than Vijnana, and the teacher says yes, Balam, strength, is subtler than Vijnana. Because even the Vijnana, which is expression of our Antakarana, the Antakarana gets strength only when it gets strength, it can function. If the Antakarana becomes weak, it cannot function. So Bala is more powerful than this understanding also. Like even one person who is very strong, he can disturb even very intelligent people around. This Shruti gives the example of this Balwan. कि विज्ञानम एको बलवान akampayate, that even one balwan disturbs all those who are present there. Shankaracharya ji gives example of an elephant. One elephant can disturb all people who are seated there. So, is there anything stronger, anything subtler than Bala? The teacher says yes, Anna is subtler than Bala. Annam vava balad bhuyaha, because only through food we get the strength. The food which we consume not only gives strength to our body, but it gives nourishment to our antakarana also and to the senses also. So food is superior to Bala. And one should meditate on food itself as Brahma. So these are the inner and inner layers. Because our antakarana is also, it gets the strength from the food which we eat. Food is subtler. But subtler than the food is apaha, water. Water, when it is there in plenty, then different types of plants and trees, they grow. So water is the cause of the food. So water is superior to food. So apo vava annat bhuyaha. So when it rains properly, people say, yes, now there will be more food. But if it doesn't rain properly, then everyone gets frightened that, oh, there will be less food to eat. So water is the cause of food, is subtler than food. Therefore, one should meditate on water as Brahma. So the journey within, at every step, the teacher talks about meditation on that expression of Brahma. So these are the various layers, as though covering, or as though which we have to cross in order to recognize that innermost Brahma. Just like sometimes we get some gift and it is very beautifully wrapped, and we open the wrapper and then we find that there is another wrapper inside. We open that also, then we find there is a box inside. We open the box, then we find there is a smaller box inside. We open it, then we see some other packing materials are there. So in this way we keep opening, and finally we see that the treasure which is hidden there. Similarly, that Supreme Brahma is the treasure. And all this from Rupa, Nama, and all these various factors are like the wrapping on that Brahma. So each and every wrapper we have to unwrap, identify with it, and go take a dive within. So subtler than the water. Is there anything subtler than water? The teacher says yes. Tejaha vava adbhyo bhuyaha. Tej, fire or heat, is superior to water, because we see that when it becomes very warm, the whole air also becomes warm. Then it starts raining. Therefore, the heat which gives rise to this rain, which gives rise to water, is superior to the water. And one has to meditate on this Teja itself as Brahma. Then Naradji asked, is there anything subtler, superior to Teja? The teacher says yes. Akasha is superior to Teja. Akasho vava tejaso bhuyam. Akashe vai surya chandramaso ubhau vidyut nakshatrani agnir akashena avayati. Akashena shrunoti, akashena pratishrunoti, akashe ramate, akashe na ramate, akashe jayate, akasham abhijayata, akasham upasveti. So akash is subtler than even the Teja. Your Teja includes air also. So akash is superior to air. It is superior to fire. So in the physical world which we see outside, the subtlest element is Akash. And it is very, very, very fascinating also. See, we experience Vayu with our skin, with the sense of touch. We can experience Vayu. But the pure Akash cannot be experienced through any of our senses. Though the characteristic of Akash is sound, but for that sound to propagate, for the sound to travel, some media is required. Where there is air, then we can hear the sound. But even if the air is not there in vacuum, then the sound doesn't travel. So Akash is very subtle, is all pervading, infinite. It is one. It is asanga, doesn't get attached to anything. And this Akash is the first expression also, first physical expression of that from that Panchatan Matras. So one should meditate on Akash. The teacher says meditate on Akash as Brahma. Then Naradji asked that is there anything subtler than Akash? The teacher says yes. Smara is superior to Akash. Smaro vava akashat bhuyaha. Smara means memory. And how memory is superior to Akash? The teacher says कि यद्यपि बहवः आसीरन् स्मरन्तः नैव ते कश्चन शृणुयुः न मन्वीरन् न विजानीरन्. If many people are seated at one place, and if a person doesn't have that memory, then he doesn't hear anything, he doesn't understand anything, doesn't comprehend anything. Without that memory, we will not be able to even recognize ourselves, our own existence. We will not be able to understand the world around us. So the person will be totally lost. So memory plays a very important role. Whatever we know about ourselves is nothing but memory only. And it is so flimsy that is quite amazing. People, when they grow old and all, they start losing their memory. And some disease and all, people, they just lose all their memory. So even their loved ones are around them, they don't recognize them. So all the years which one has spent together, the person just don't remember anything. So memory plays a very important role. Because of the memory only we become aware of the world around us, and we have a sense of identity, a personality. So memory is superior to Akash. Memory is also Antakarana Dharma, is the expression of our Antakarana only. Though memory is not the material cause of this world, but it is the nimitta. It is the reason for which we become aware of this world. So memory is very subtle. With that only we recognize the world around, we recognize our children, our family. So meditate on memory itself as Brahma. Then Naradji asked, is there anything superior to memory? And the teacher says, yes. Asha vava smarat bhuyaha. Asha is superior to memory. Asha means expectation. Asha means desires. Trishna, a thirst to acquire. And that is indicated as superior to memory. When we have this desire, then the whole personality wakes up, the whole awareness happens, and everything becomes meaningful, and we interact with the world. So all this is propelled and motivated by a desire only. In fact, our life itself, we are born propelled by our desires. We get different life forms propelled by our desires. And even when we lead a very long life, performing various actions, acquiring various things, the desires in our antakarana doesn't get exhausted. Even when we are about to die, still there are desires. Still we want to continue to live. Still we want to acquire things. So with lots of desires still unfulfilled in our antakarana, we die, we drop this body, and in order to fulfill those desires, another body is given to us, and we are born in another life form, sometimes as animal, birds, plant, or we might be born again as a human being, and we continue with our activities in this world, trying to fulfill our desires. All our activities are propelled by these desires only, kama. Behind every activity, there is kama. Behind all the functioning of our senses, our mind, our body, there is kama is there, which propels. If that kamna is not there, the person will not do anything. Then the whole system will get dropped. And that itself is called moksha. One becomes free of this kamna. When one attains liberation, one becomes free of all kamnas. In Gita, the second chapter, Bhagavan talks about the sthita prajna. He says the sthita prajna is one who is free of all kamna. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmannevatmana tushtaha sthita prajnastadochyate. A sthita prajna is one who doesn't have any kamana, any desire in his antakarana. And he is completely content, completely satisfied in his own self. He doesn't need anything. So when a person becomes free of all kamna, he gains abidance in his own self. But it's not so simple. We try to get rid of our kamna by fulfilling them. But if you fulfill one desire, another desire props up. In Mahabharata, the example is given that desires are like the fire. The more fuel you put into that fire, because the fire is asking for fuel, please give me some more dry wood. So you say, okay, I will give one dry wood to this fire. It just consumes it and asks for more. The more you put, the more it will start blazing. So desires never get exhausted just by fulfilling them. One has to go to the very root of them and find out what is giving rise to these desires. And when we go to the root, we will come to know that all these desires are for pleasures, for happiness. And these desires are there because we are seeking that eternal happiness. And that eternal happiness is our own swarupa. So through the desires, we are seeking ourselves. But not knowing that, we keep on looking for this happiness outside. So our Shastras, they teach us, they tell us that just by roaming around and acquiring things of this world, all your desires will not get fulfilled. You have to seek yourself. And when we dive deep within and come to recognize our own Swarupa, then we know that I don't have to run anywhere because I am of the nature of Sukha. Therefore, here in a very beautiful way, the teacher takes us on this inner journey and finally reveals that Bhuma, which is of the nature of Sukha. But before we reach that Bhuma, there are those different layers which we have to cross. So here the teacher is talking about Asha, the Kamana, which is so very strong and so subtle that it binds all these various factors. So all the way from Nama to Asha, everything is as though tied down by this Asha. If you just remove Asha, then whole thing will tumble down. Just like we prepared some items, some handicraft, different parts are there, and we stick them with glue. But if that glue is weak, then the whole thing falls down. So the glue which connects all these various factors, Nama, Vaka, Mana, Sankalpa, Chitta, Dhyana, etc., is Kama, desires. Desires keep the samsara going for us. Not only in one lifetime, we take many, many lifetimes. And every lifetime is propelled by these different sets of desires only. So, Asha Vava Smarat Bhuyaha, Bhuyasi. And with this Asha only, everything is understood, everything is tied down. Shankaracharya ji gives the example of the stem of the lotus. So there are so many different threads are there within that stem, which holds the whole stem together. Similarly, all the various factors are held together by Asha. Asha Pasha Shatair Baddha. In Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says that a worldly person is tied down by the threads of Asha and lives in this world. So Asha is very, very subtle, and it is the one which is holding all the various expressions of this world together. Then Naradji asked that is there anything subtler than Asha? And the teacher says, yes, Prana is subtler than Asha. This Prana is the most fascinating. Prana is subtler than Asha. Prana is the Shakti of that Supreme Brahma. And Prana is the first expression of Brahma. Even before Akash, Prana is expressed. In Mundaka Upanishad, we have seen a beautiful mantra. It says, Ki etasmat jayate pranaha. That from that Supreme Brahma, is born Prana first. Etasmat jayate Prana. Manas sarvendriyani cha. Then mind and all the indriyas. And Kham Vayur Jyotirapaha Prithvi Vishwasya Dharini. And the five elements, Akash, Vayu, Agni, Jal, Prithvi, all of them are born. So prana is very subtle. See, we have seen that Brahma and his Shakti, which is called Maya, has got two expressions, which is the in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan talks about it as para and apara prakriti. So this para prakriti is prana and apara prakriti is avyakta. So prana and this avyakta prakriti together is the Shakti of Bhagavan, Maya, or it's also called Avyakrita. So Avyakrita is made up of prana and Avyakta. And this Avyakta Prakriti has got these 8 expressions. So Bhumi Rapo Nalo Vayu Kham Mano Buddhi Revacha. In Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, Bhagavan talks about this Ashtadha Prakriti. So Avyakta, Mahat Tattva, Ahankar, and the Pancha Tanmatras. They are all the Apara Prakriti or are called Avyakta. And the Para Prakriti is Prana. So from that Brahma, Prana is born. And then the Avyakta, Mahatattva, Panchatanmatras. From the Mahatattva, the Samashti Buddhi is born. From Ahankar Tattva, the Samashti Mana is born. So with Samashti Mana, Samashti Buddhi, and the Prana, the first person is born who is Hiranyagarbha. Who further create this world. So prana is the most fascinating. And here the teacher says कि प्राणो वा आशाया भूयः यथा वा अरा नाभो समर्पिता एवं अस्मिन् प्राणे सर्वं समर्पितम्. Just like a wheel, there are so many spokes are there which are all held together by the hub of the wheel. Similarly, the entire creation is held by this prana. Jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagata yaya idam dharyate jagata. In Gita, Bhagavan says this para prakriti holds the whole world together. Dharan karti. It is the Shakti. Without that Shakti, nothing can function. See, our mind, our intellect, and all, though it requires nourishment from the food, but the real power to the mind and all comes from prana only. If prana is not there, no amount of food and all will be able to activate the mind. If the prana leaves the body falls down dead. But when the body is alive, it can get nourishment from the food which we eat. But once the prana leaves the body, then the body cannot be nourished with food. So prana is the one which is the main factor which supports not only our body mind but supports the entire creation. And all interactions really happens because of prana and within prana only. Therefore, the teacher says, Prana pranena yati, prana pranam dadati, pranaya dadati. That whatever is given to prana. Whoever is taking, prana alone is taking. Prana alone is the father, prana alone is the mother. Prano ha pita, prano mata, prano bhrata, prano swasa, prana acharya, prano brahmana. Prana alone is the father, mother, brother, sister, acharya, brahmana. Everything is prana. So when we take this inner journey to recognize our own self, the journey which we are taking within, starting from nama, vaka, mana, these are all internal, inner factors. Even the 5 elements are also within. Memory, asha, and in this inner journey, the most important level which we can reach is prana. Prana, which is there pervading the entire creation, holding the creation together, is expressing within this body in 5-fold way as prana, apan, vyan, udan, and samam. The breathing in, the breathing out, the circulation which is happening within, the digestion, the power which is given to our thinking. All these are the various expressions of prana only within this body. So prana is so subtle. It is subtler than our antakarana also. Prana is subtler than our thinking. Thinking and all happens with our antakarana. But even when the thinking is not there, prana continues to function. Like in our deep sleep, prana doesn't require your thinking. The mind, the intellect take rest when I am in deep sleep, but the prana continues to function. Prana never takes rest. From the very moment we enter the father's body and thereafter we enter the mother's body, and then we are born in this world, the prana is there active. Even when we die, the prana is active in the sukshma sharir. It takes it to its destination according to karma. So one has to understand this prana. Prana is called para prakriti, superior prakriti of Bhagwan, because it is not touched by avidya. It is not touched by avidya, kama, karma and all. though it is the power behind everything, but it is not affected by, it is not touched by them. Therefore, when we are in deep sleep, whether a person is a sinner or a saint, young or old, happy or unhappy, when in deep sleep, all of us remain there as Sat Brahma, experiencing supreme happiness. Esha Paramanandaha. So one has to understand this prana, shifting our attention even from our thinking. One has to recognize this prana. And if we are able to recognize that prana, we will be able to recognize our own innermost self, the Pratyagatma, the Kshetrajna. If you are able to meditate on prana without thoughts, if you are able to identify with prana, transcending our mind, our intellect, we will be able to experience our own innermost self, the Kshetrajna, the Pratyagatma, the Prajna. Therefore, many of these techniques of meditation involve prana. Today being an international day of yoga, even in yoga, in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, Patanjali Rishi talks about pranayama, which is given a very important place. So this Ashtanga Yoga is there, Yama, Niyam, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi. So through pranayam itself, we can control the mind, even purify the mind, and attain that complete calmness and stability of the mind, which helps in niridhyasana, in gaining that abidance in ourself. Pranayam can help a person to gain abidance in his own self, which he has understood before. If that knowledge is not there, then pranayam alone will not help. Many people keep doing pranayam without having proper knowledge, then it doesn't help that much. But if one has got a Vedanta understanding, then one can utilize this technique of pranayam, etc., to gain abidance in our own self. There is another very ancient text called Vijnana Bhairav, wherein Bhagwan Shiva gives this knowledge to Parvati ji, in which he gives 112 techniques of dharana, like meditation techniques, in which the dharana associated with pranas are very important. He begins with those dharanas and concludes with the dharana associated with prana. So prana is expressing in our body as through our breathing also. The breathing also is due to prana, is the expression of prana. So breathing in, breathing out, which we don't do, but it happens actually. If we focus our attention on our breathing, we find that it is happening. But it's very interesting that our emotions and our sometimes disturbs the natural process of the breathing. If I'm angry, if I'm agitated, if I'm frightened, then that disturbs the natural flow of the breathing. When I'm surprised, the breathing stops for some time. So our thoughts and our emotions, they disturb the natural flow of the breathing. But if we just try to not disturb the flow of the breathing and pay attention to it, we will be able to understand the mystery of this prana. Therefore, whatever one may be very angry, one may be very disturbed in the waking state, and the breathing becomes haphazard. But when the same person goes to sleep, and dreamless sleep, the breathing goes on very beautifully, rhythmically. It doesn't carry all the disturbance in it because it is untouched by the disturbance, or it is not polluted by the thoughts. So when one understands this prana, we will be able to understand our own innermost self, the self which is present in this body. And that self is that Brahma only who is present in this body. We will be able to understand it. So the entry is that prana. Through prana we can understand. See, it is like the window pane or like the air. The air which is there, with our eyes we cannot see that air. But then we look out and we see the trees are swaying, they are moving, the leaves are fluttering. So from the movement of the trees, you come to understand the presence of that air, which is very subtle. Similarly, from the movement of our prana, from the presence of our prana, we come to understand the presence of our own inner self. The inner self is extremely subtle, but it is expressing through the prana. In fact, the pranas are the Shakti of that self only. So, when we understand this prana, we will understand our innermost self. So, Naradji, when he heard this, he also was quite satisfied that yes, I have understood myself now. And he did not ask the teacher, is there anything subtler than prana? Because he was quite satisfied that yes, I have gained self-knowledge. I have understood myself. But the teacher tells Naradji that No doubt you have understood, but that is not the final thing. That one who understands this prana also, he becomes ativadi, because it's a very, very deep and very important stage of our understanding. So teacher tells him कि प्राणो ही एव एतानि सर्वाणि भवति स वा एष एवं पश्यन् एवं मन्वानः एवं विजानन् अतिवादी भवति तं चेत् ब्रूयुः अतिवादी असि इति अतिवादी अस्मि इति ब्रूयाम् नाप्नुवीत. So the teacher tells Naradji, one who understands this prana, he becomes ativadi, he becomes all-knower. And if somebody asks him that are you ativadi, he should not deny it. He should say, yes, I am ativadi. So Naradji, having understood this prana, he felt that he has become that ativadi, he knows now everything. There is nothing more to be known. So he became quiet. Then the teacher, when he saw this, out of compassion, he told Naradji that this is not the ultimate. You have not yet reached Mount Everest. You are just on the base camp. Mount Everest is much, much high. You have recognized your own self within this body, but you have to recognize that self as Bhuma, as all pervading, as infinite, as of the nature of Sukha. Then only your journey will be complete. Otherwise, it is an important stage, but it is not the ultimate. So, Esha tu va ativadati sa satyena ativadati. Soham bhagava satyena ativadaniti. So, teacher told Naradji that only one who knows the Satya, because that Bhuma is Satya. Everything else is Asatya, is changing. So, that Bhuma is Satya means you have to recognize yourself without even the upadhi of prana as it is, not even confined to prana, but as it is. And as it is bhuma, sukha. So one who knows that satyam alone becomes ativadi. Then Naradji says, yes, I want to know that satyam. Satyam tu eva vijitnyasitavyam iti. Satyam bhagavo vijitnyasa iti. I want to recognize, realize that satyam. So what is that satyam? That we will see in our class on Monday. We have already seen it. Now we are just summarizing it. So that we will see in our class on Monday. So till then you take care, be happy, safe, peaceful, healthy, do your work, do your sadhana. Listen to the pravachan again. Keep on listening, keep on contemplating. Never, be complacent. Never think that, oh, I have understood, now nothing more to be understood. Till we gain that enlightenment, you should not stop your yatra. Continue with your sadhana till the goal is reached. So Hari Om, and see you all on Monday. Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. 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 Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram, 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 Jaya Jaya Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram, बोलिए सियावर रामचंद्र भगवान की जय। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम।